Welcome, everybody. Come on in. We will get started in just a few minutes. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Peggy Mitchell, and I am the Assistant Director for Career and Technical Education here in the district, and we're so glad that you're here. A couple of things on logistics, and then we will jump into our presentation. We are recording tonight, and in the next few days, you'll be able to find this recording and the slideshow that our presenter is about to go through. They will be posted on the Future Readiness website. So please feel free to visit there as many times as you like. Perhaps if there's something you need to see it again or revisit, or if there's you'd like to share the video or the link with any of your friends, your neighbors, what have you, because we know everybody can't be here tonight. So those will be posted on our Future Readiness site. Also throughout the night, I'll be working with the presenter and I'll be monitoring the chat box. So as you have any questions, please just drop them in the chat box and I'll be glad to convey them to our guest. And also my contact information is in the chat box. So afterwards, if you have any questions, feel free to call me or email me, and our presenter will be sharing his contact information with you as well. So we want to make sure you have everything you need. We're so thankful that you're here today. So, you know, I've been a teacher for many, many years, and students and parents alike, you've heard us talk about college and trade school and community school for many years, and for good reason. But one that we haven't probably told you enough about is apprenticeships. And we want to start to fix that and make sure more students are aware of this wonderful opportunity. If you're thinking about anything in a career field, such as being an electrician or a plumber or an HVAC technician, apprenticeships are a wonderful way to go and a wonderful opportunity. These are in-demand, high-paying jobs, and we need you. I have a couple of brothers who went through apprenticeship programs, and they've been doing these jobs for many years. They love the jobs. They've always had work. They've been paid well, but they're getting ready to retire. And so our guest speaker needs some more helpers. And so we are so glad you're here to learn about it. Our guest tonight is Brian Peabody from Local 286 Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union here in Austin. And he's going to be telling you what an apprenticeship is and how it works. And many of his examples are going to be talking about it from a plumber's perspective, but he'll also share with you that the concept is very similar for electricians or carpenters or HVAC techs. And so he'll share those specifics with you. And he'll also talk with you about a pre-apprenticeship opportunity this summer, different classes that you can take for a few weeks to get some of the basic safety type things, but also to get an overview of multiple different areas so you can start to narrow down which apprenticeship program you might might be interested in joining. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Peabody. But again, remember, as you have questions, please drop them in the chat box and we will take it from here. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Peggy. Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. Like Peggy said, my name is Brian Peabody. I'm the training coordinator for Local 286 Plumbers and Pipe Fitters here in Austin, Texas. And we are part of a labor union, the United Association of Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, Welders, and HVAC Technicians. And I do have a presentation that I'm going to throw up here on the screen. Let's see, can you see that, Peggy?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. You know, like Peggy said, these opportunities are great opportunities that are out there and available, especially right now with all of the work that's going on in the Austin area and surrounding areas. Our biggest challenge is that people just really don't know what an apprenticeship is and what these programs look like or how to get into them. A lot of folks don't even know they exist. I certainly did not know what an apprenticeship was. It kind of fell into my lap whenever I got started. I went off to Texas State out in San Marcos, tried college for a little while. It was definitely, I won't say it wasn't for me, I just wasn't ready yet. And I wound up back at home wondering what I was going to do. I had a friend of mine, my best friend, actually, his dad was a member of the local and told me, hey, you should come work for me. I was fortunate enough that I had someone who kind of helped me get my foot in the door, offered me a job opportunity. I went to work for him back in, I think it was 2007. And once I got working for him, next thing I knew, I got a letter in the mail asking me to come for an interview to get into the apprenticeship school. Had no idea what that was, but went to the interview anyways, got accepted, and the rest was written. Got into school, went through the program, and I've had a wonderful career so far and look forward to where it's taken me. So let me kind of tell you a little bit about what apprenticeships are. Basically, and the simplest term that I could explain it to you is getting an education in a career field and being paid to do so. The system has been around for a long time, and it's just a way of developing future generations of professionals for all of these skilled trades that are in such high demand. Like Peggy stated, there's definitely a shortage. There was a long period of time where, you know, the construction industry was kind of looked down upon, and you know, students were being pushed to go to college, and you know, it was almost like if you didn't go to college, you were a failure. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not the case. And you know, I do not consider these apprenticeship programs an alternative. I consider them an option, and I'll kind of explain that a little bit better as we go through here as to why. But you know, it's a great way for people to learn by working on the job, doing the hands-on, while receiving pay and benefits, and then also attending school in a classroom and shop settings, to where you can get more of that, the skill set that you need to be successful. NAB2, North America's Building Trade Unions. So like Peggy said, there's so many different options. We are with the plumbers, pipe fitters, welders, and HVAC technicians, but these registered apprenticeship programs are available through 14 different unions and have millions of members across the United States and Canada. They're an opportunity to get your foot in the door in an industry that's in high demand, get the training to make you more successful, get the education, and even earn some college credits. And I'll talk to you about that a little bit later on in the presentation. But you can see we invest a lot of money into this education. Over $1.5 billion a year is invested into these 14 different unions and their registered apprenticeship programs. These NAB2 affiliates, there's 14 affiliates that are listed out in this in NAB2's website. Here in the Austin area, there's 7 that have a presence here in the area that are realistic options for folks that are in this area to actually go to work and get into their apprenticeship program. The plumbers and pipe fitters, the electrical workers, the heat and frost insulators, the iron workers, the elevator constructors, operating engineers. Boilermakers don't really have a presence here in the area. We don't build a lot of ships in Austin. The roofers, the cement masons, the painters don't really have a big presence here in Austin. The laborers and the International Association of Sheet Metal, they do. So there are some options. And if you go to nabtu.org, it does break out those options and explain a lot better about what each individual program does for a living. So while we're kind of on that topic, there's a few different ways that you can get your foot in the door with these programs. Obviously, if you have a really good idea of what interests you the most, if you know, I really enjoy welding. Well, there's a few different options paths that you could take and be a welder. The iron workers weld, the plumbers and pipe fitters weld, the sheet metal workers weld, and even the carpenters do a little bit of welding as well. So there are, and a lot of folks don't realize that. So this program, this apprenticeship readiness program, it's a pre-apprenticeship program called the MC3 program. This is another option for folks to get into a program of their choice. This one is more catered to folks that don't really know which one they want. They just know that, hey, I like to work with my hands. I may want to get into the construction industry. I just don't know which direction I want to go. This would be a perfect class for the candidate that fits that description. It offers the candidates an opportunity to learn about each individual trade, what they do on a daily basis, what their training programs look like, kind of what their day-to-day is going to be in that career field. This program was designed to help diversify these programs. So there is a target towards women, transitioning military veterans, and people of underserved communities. But with that being said, it's open to anyone who's interested. So don't feel like that limits the folks that can get in. This pre-apprenticeship program, it's called the MC3 Multi-Craft Core Curriculum. And the curriculum itself includes 40 hours of construction-based math. A lot of folks don't realize we actually really want the folks that are strong in mathematics and maybe a little bit of science, because a lot of these skilled trades require some math to be used on a daily basis. I say that, but also I don't want that to be a deterrent for anyone who says, I'm not good at math. Well, a lot of our students think that they're not good at math because they've never learned a math that applies to what they do every single day on the job. Our math program within our apprenticeship program, our math class, it starts out as basic as you could possibly imagine, and then progresses all the way up into some algebra, some geometry, some calculus, and even some trig. But it's things that apply to daily tasks, things that you will do on the job site on a regular basis, and it helps it make sense for those students. The MC3, you also get your OSHA 10 certification. You get a first aid and CPR certification. We go over blueprint reading, financial literacy. We do some diversity and sexual harassment training. And then there's some elective courses that you can also throw in there, like green construction awareness, industry awareness, heritage of the American worker. Also, while we're in this class, we go around and we tour the different training centers that are here in the area. So we'll take the students, put them on a bus, and we take them over to the sheet metals local apprenticeship school, the iron workers, the electricians, the carpenters, and then here we tour our program's training center as well. So they kind of get to see in person, what it is, what these classrooms look like, what these shop spaces look like, and what that training is going to be made up of. And it's a 2-week-long course, 120 hours of curriculum. And the best part about it is at the end of the class, at the end of the 2 weeks, every single graduate that has ever taken this course has been offered a job as long as they complete. They do have to show up every single day. They do have to be on time. It gives us an opportunity to see and ensure that they have some of the basic skills that are going to be needed to be successful once they get the job. And we use that as a mechanism to kind of weed them out. If they're not ready to be held accountable and show up to work every day on time, then we don't want to put them in a position to fail. So this class kind of helps them develop some of those things as well. Some of the success numbers that we've seen here in Austin. We've held 9 classes here in Austin to date. We've had 147 total folks enrolled in these classes. Out of the 147 that signed up to take the class, 126 have actually gone all the way through, completed the training, and graduated. And all 126 were offered a job at the end of the class. 92 folks out of that 126 that completed are now officially entered into a registered apprenticeship program. And I can't tell you enough that those numbers get me excited every time I see them, because they're well above the average that we see folks that apply, go to work, and then get accepted into school, having this 2 weeks of, is this something I want to commit, my career to? Is this something that is going to interest me to long enough to, hold my attention for at least the duration of the apprenticeship program? Things of that nature. It really helps increase our retention rates, and make sure that they're making the right choice on which program to get into, because some of the retention problems that we've seen is, somebody might get into the class and go apply to become an electrician because everybody knows what an electrician is. Not everybody knows what a heat and frost insulator does for a living, and so they get out there on the job, they see what some of these other skilled trades are doing, and they think, you know what, I kind of like that, and I think I would enjoy doing that more than what I'm doing now. And so they quit and they go to work for a different program. This kind of helps eliminate that issue, because they get a look at these programs, they see what these folks are doing for a living, and it helps them make a more educated decision on which route they want to take. I've got some photos here. We bring in some of our industry partners, DeWalt, Milwaukee. They do some hands-on safety training, some really industry specific. They do a lot of silica dust training. There's also some pictures of some of the training center tours. One on the bottom right shows the hands-on demonstration of the CPR. They actually do have to physically do the CPR on the CPR dummy to ensure that they qualify to get that certification. Some more photos. One of the days during that class, we invite contractors in from all the different programs that may have employment needs, to come in and do what we call mock interviews. We call them mock interviews so that they're not totally stressed out about it, but they're really not mock interviews. Every single time that we hold these interviews during this class, there are students that are offered jobs on the spot if they have an interest with those, with that industry, and that contractor has a hiring need and they like the candidate, then they're going to say, hey, when you finish this class, do you want to come work for us? It happens every single time. And then also pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, we would have a graduation ceremony where it was kind of a fun ordeal where, kind of like a college signing, we would have the graduation ceremony. At the graduation ceremony, we would announce which program that they were going to be going to work for and the name of the company that they were going to go to work for. And they would actually come up one at a time and sign a work referral to go to work. It's a lot of fun. And the bottom right picture, the young man in the very middle, way too young to be a student. It was actually the young lady on his, well, it would be his right, but our left. That's his mom, and she was going through the program and finished. And she's actually, I believe, a third-year apprentice, either a second or a third-year apprentice in our program now. So doing well. We do have some classes coming up, like Peggy had mentioned. We have one coming up April 19th through the 30th. And then we always try to hold some right after high school graduation. We know most high schools are going to graduate around May. So we kind of stack some classes on top of each other right there, the June, July time of the year, because we know those folks are going to be exiting out of high school, and some of those folks are going to be entering into the workforce. And a lot of these programs, they follow public school schedules. So we start school in September of every year, but we hold our interviews to accept our upcoming first year apprentices in July, towards the end of July. So that's why there's 3 classes stacked in there as tight as we could get them between the graduation of the class of 2021 and the start of our school, or the interview process. So we do have some spots available in all of those classes. So if y'all know of anyone who might be interested, I'm more than happy to share that information as well. The other way to get into one of these programs, like I said, if they already have a really good idea, if they know, hey, my dad's a plumber, or I've done plumbing with my uncle during the summers, or I'm mainly interested in being an electrician, whatever the case may be, they can always just go to one of these programs on their application days and put an application in. They do not have to go through a pre-apprenticeship class. We do applications here for our program once a week, every Wednesday. And I'll get into a little bit more about that. But our program, Local 286, you finish the pre-apprenticeship program, then you go to work, and then you enter into one of these apprenticeship programs themselves. And they're all, like Peggy said, they're all structured really similarly. They may have some minor differences about, the way they do their training. I know some of the programs are only doing training online, and they were doing that well before it was cool. The sprinkler fitters, they do all online training, and then they have some, like I think there's, I'm shooting from the hip here, but I think it's 18 Saturdays out of the year that they have to come in and do some in-person training, which is totally different than what we do. But that's just an example of, they may be structured a little bit differently. They're all jointly sponsored, meaning it's a partnership between the companies that these folks go to work for and then the actual school itself, which gives it that, hey, you get to go to work, you get to do this for a living, you get to get a paycheck. Oh, and by the way, they're going to pay for your education so you can come to school and learn how to be a better employee. So it's a pretty good model that tends to work out really, really well. Here for Local 286, the students are going to get 10,000 hours of on-the-job training and then 1,225 hours of classroom instruction. I know it says classroom. A lot of our classrooms are in a shop out there doing the hands-on, so don't let that scare you. Our students, they come to class 2 nights a week from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Over the course of 5 years. The whole time they're working full-time during the day, and then 2 nights out of the week, they come to school here at our training center in the evenings. And like I said, we follow AISD's schedule pretty closely. So we start school when they start school. We get a week off for spring break. We get a week off for Christmas. We get a week off for New Year's. We get a week off for Thanksgiving. That is for school only. You do still have to take off with your contractor if you're trying to plan a little holiday vacation. But we don't want to come in between them and being able to spend time with their family. So we do honor those vacation times. The other thing is the apprenticeship wage rates, they're based on a set percentage of the current journeyman pay scale. And what that means, I have a breakout here, kind of going from top to bottom and left to right. Everyone comes in as what we call an unindentured apprentice. And that 45% of a building trades journeyman, that means whatever our current journeyman scale is, the unindentured apprentice, the folks that are applicants trying to get into the program, start out at 45% of their pay scale. So again, going left to right, the total package amount that someone fresh out of high school or making a career change later on in life would come in at $20.77 an hour. And what that includes is the H&W is health and welfare. So $6.82 an hour is going to be paid into a health fund that provides that employee with full family health insurance. So it covers the employee, it covers a spouse, and it covers all dependents. So they get full family insurance for all of their entire family, which for a high school student coming fresh out of high school, they may not think that's a really big deal. But somebody like myself who decided to get married and then have 3 kids, I'll tell you right now, it is a big deal. It saves us a lot of money not having to pay for insurance. Every time, when my wife wife and I got married, she was added onto my insurance, didn't change my paycheck. When we had one kid, didn't change my paycheck. Now we have 3 kids, it didn't change my paycheck. So it is a really good benefit to have. Going across, you see the pension, they do not receive any retirement benefits until they get accepted into school. And then the far right column is hourly. So that is the pay the bills, put food on the table, dollar amount that they'll see on the paycheck. So somebody just starting out starts out at $13.95. They stay there until the day they start school. So a senior in high school graduates in May. If they graduate, they come in, they put an application in as quickly as they can. They go to work, say in June, we bring them in for an interview in July. If they get accepted into school, they start school in September. So they may only have to work June, July, and August at that $13.95, and then they get that pay increase that jumps all the way up to $17.05. They at that point they start receiving the retirement benefits as well. I know it says pension. There's actually 2. There's a pension and an annuity. So those contributions increase just like their hourly does as they progress through the program. So they stay at that first year scale for 1 year. And then at that point, our retention rates tend to really, really get pretty good at that point. If they make it to a second year in the apprenticeship program, statistics show they're going to finish. So at that point, we give a 5% pay increase every 6 months. So every 6 months, as long as they're completing every responsibility that they have with the apprenticeship program and with their employer, then they're going to get that 5% pay increase on the check and towards their retirement benefits as well. For the duration of the school year or of their entire education, which is 5 years. And then at the end, you can see all the way at the bottom, our graduates, our journeymen, plumbers and pipe fitters, welders and HVAC techs, they make $31 an hour on the check with all wages and benefits included. They're making $45.68 an hour. It doesn't show it here on this slide, but our contract is broken out specifically to these are straight time hours only. So these are Monday through Friday, the first 8 hours of the day. If anyone works hours 9 and 10 on a weekday, it goes to time and a half. If they work anything over 10, it goes to double time. If they work a Saturday, it starts out time and a half for the first 8 hours and then goes to double time for anything over 8 on a Saturday. If they work a Sunday or a holiday, it's double time all day. So even someone coming in with absolutely zero experience could almost make $28 an hour if they're working on Sundays. And I'll tell you right now, Austin is so busy. I have a lot of people working Sundays. Dispatched a few folks today out to work at the Tesla site, and they're working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day right now. So plenty of overtime to go around right now.
Brian, I'd just like to interject for a minute, and because I really want to make sure any students that are on the session really hear what you're saying here. Because again, these are 40-hour-a-week wages, but like you said, there's plenty of overtime. That Tesla plant, for example, is enormous. It's going to take a lot of workers to get that up and running. The other thing I really want to challenge our students to do after the call or after this session, talk with your parents, talk with your teachers and so forth, more about what Brian said about the health benefits. Yes, that can really add up for a family of 3. It's not unusual for that to be $500-600 a month, depending on the insurance plan at your work. So the fact that you would get that for free is huge. Now, I know most of you don't have kids yet, and you won't have 3 kids for a while, but keep that in mind, because all that happens quicker than you think. Okay. And so it's an amazing opportunity to have a job that pays those benefits for you. But again, you have the option also to work extra hours and make more pay per hour for the extra hours. So this is a hugely important slide.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Peggy. Yes, it does go quickly. It doesn't seem like it was very long ago, and I was the high schooler that was sitting there going, what am I going to do for a living? So yes, it comes quick. So our curriculum, I put a bunch of slides in here, and I don't want to take up an incredible amount of time going through each one, but a lot of folks ask what the actual schooling looks like. I'll say over the 5 years, our first year apprentices, there's two paths, the combination plumber and pipe fitter or welder path, and then our HVAC path. Every apprentice takes all of the same classes in the first year, which is made up of the related mathematics. And you can see here, it's tape measure math. It's learning how to use some angles and, you know, the Pythagorean theorem and things of that nature to lay out, you know, off of control lines and things like that. Learning how to do piping offsets, builder's level and total station. The other first year class is intro to pipe trades. That's where they get to do the OSHA 30, their first aid, their CPR, the history of the UA, and then they get out in the shop and they do soldering, they do brazing, and they get into some pipe threading as well. And then towards the end of that first year, they also get into basics of rigging and even crane signaling. So really touching on some of the basics of a lot of different parts of the trade. And that's why those HVAC students are in there with them, because we want those folks to get the essentials, the soldering, the brazing, the rigging, the signaling, all of those things. And these are all apprentices here in our program that are in these pictures as well. Once you get into the second year, they get into the basic plumbing class where they do drainage, water supply, and fixtures. And so you can see out in the plumbing shop, they do the hands-on, popping some layouts, doing some design, and then actually putting the piping together. This class is split. So one week they'll be in the shop, the next week they'll be in a classroom. And then the other second year class, intro to shielded metal arc welding, same thing. They start out in the classroom, cover some of the safety guidelines and standards and procedures that are to be expected in a welding shop. And then they get out there and they weld. They start out on plate and then build their way up to welding on 6-inch carbon steel. And they also do some oxyacetylene cutting as well. The other second year class, this is where that path splits. So if we have a student who is specifically going to school to be an HVAC technician, then they split at this point, and the rest of their education is tailored specifically to HVAC. So they get into a lot of the basics in the second year, and then the third year, the plumber pipe fitter track, they do basic blueprint reading and isometric drawing. And you can see here, but what that means is taking a 2-dimensional drawing and turning it into a 3-dimensional drawing, and being able to read and understand blueprints. The other third year is the intro to pipe fitting standards. And you can see a lot of what that is starting to weld and fabricate a lot of the different things that you're going to see out on the job site. And I know it's hard to tell from this picture, but there's a lot of math involved in that. Which is why they get the math knocked out, the drawing knocked out, because when they get to this class, they have to do all the math behind the fabrication they're about to build. They have to draw a sketch out of what it's going to look like, get all their cut dimensions and everything, and then they have to build it off to the side. They're not allowed to build it in place. Kind of that challenge of make sure that you know what you're doing, and then when it's done, we're going to put it up, hold it in place, and see if it fits. And by the end of it, they get really, really good at making accurate measurements to where it perfectly lines up almost every time. Then the HVAC third year gets a little bit more involved, where they get into some steam heat, some pump alignment, things of that nature. Fourth year, we get into plumbing code. I like to call this class their test prep class, because they do have to go down to the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners in their fourth year and take their journeyman test. We do require it to move on to the 5th year of the apprenticeship. So this really helps prepare them, gets them the plumbing code. They really dive deep into the plumbing code book, and then also work on some of the other things that are going to be expected of them when they go take that journeyman exam. The other 4th year class is an elective. So if they're really interested in welding and they do really well in the intro welding course, then they can take the advanced welding course. If welding isn't for them and they consider themselves more of a plumber, then they can take an emerging technologies class or a clean room technologies class, where they get into an industrial rigging class, where they can get a rigging certification that's good anywhere in the United States. They can do some pump alignment, Trimble, tube bending, polypro PVDF welding. I like to tell people our training is designed to cater to the contractor's needs. So we want to be in front of new technology. If new technology is being implemented on the job, then we want to start training to it as quickly as we possibly can, because we want our folks to be trained on how to do that so that they don't fill that need with someone else. We have a lot of folks that get into one of our 5th year classes. You see the 4th year HVAC gets a lot more advanced, where they start getting into some bigger commercial air handlers and things of that nature. One of our 5th year classes, this medical gas installation, they have to take a medical gas class. This is for every student that's not HVAC. It requires an endorsement that you have to get through taking another exam through the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners to even be allowed to work on any system that's going to be hooked up to a human being. So think about any time you're in a hospital and you see something coming out of the wall and attaching to a person, you have to have a plumbing license and you have to have a medical gas endorsement to even be allowed to touch those materials. To be a part of that crew, to work on that stuff, you have to have that endorsement and that plumbing license. So we require all of our students to get that as well. That going back to that emerging technology, this is the class I was talking about. We have a lot of folks that get into this 5th year class that's BIM design, and they learn how to basically be a plumber or pipe fitter on a computer. They design the systems that are going to be installed in these big projects, in these hotels, in these hospitals, in these high rises. And if someone takes an interest to this and shows that they have the ability to do it, our contractors are willing to hire them to do this for a living. It was something that I actually got passionate about, and when I graduated the program, I did this for one of the largest contractors in the United States for 5 years, and it was neat. Even being a diehard Texas Longhorn fan, I got to design all of the domestic waters for the Texas A&M football field when they were building their new field. So yeah, it was fun. Then our 5th year, another class that they take, orbital welding, which is basically welding stainless, like they're going to see a lot in the clean room environments that we work in, the Samsung semiconductors, the NXPs. There's a lot of jobs that, this welding is a lot cleaner, and it's in a clean room environment, so they're going to be suited up. You're going to be the dirtiest thing in the room, because they're going to filter that air like crazy to keep that environment clean. But there's a lot of people that make a living only off of orbital welding, so it's another certification that they can get. We also, in the 5th year, have a management and supervision class, where they're going to go over things like leadership and integrity, and learning how to schedule a job, and understanding job costs, labor costs, things of that nature, kind of helping prepare folks that may already show an interest in becoming the future leadership within that company, being a foreman or a superintendent, or potentially a job owner one day. Because that's another thing that a lot of folks don't understand is, going through one of these programs, it doesn't mean that you're limited to only being a plumber or a pipe fitter for the rest of your life. This education can be a springboard into something that goes well beyond working on your tools. We have graduates that go on to work for the city of Austin as plumbing inspectors or blueprints inspectors. We have folks that have gone on to start their own businesses. One of our instructors that actually teaches the management and supervision class started his own company about 3 years ago, and he was a graduate of our program. And the last I checked, I think he already has over 150 employees. In 3 years, he's grown that much. He's doing fantastic. We have folks that go on to project management, project engineering, BIM design. I mean, the opportunities are boundless. Sorry, Peggy, do you have something to say?
Oh, no, that's quite all right. Part of that, I was just going to agree with you completely with that. Yeah, business owners, even here in school districts, for our students, think about it. We have over 50 campuses, and then office buildings. And so, yes, we have plumbers and electricians and so forth, but we also have people that supervise those people. And we have people that are on our architecture teams that are helping, advise on some of the building and so forth. So lots of opportunities. But Brian, we did have one question when you started talking about the curriculum, even back at year one. A question came up about what's the prerequisite to get into the program?
Yeah, so every program is going to be a little bit different. Our prerequisites are pretty basic. We're going to have pretty much the limited standard of, we do require a current driver's license or state photo ID, a social security card, a birth certificate, and then a high school level education. So either a diploma and a transcript or a GED and test scores. That's all you have to have to come in and apply. Now, there are programs that are going to require an entry exam, an aptitude test. There are some programs that are going to require a certain level of high school math. And if you don't have it, they offer courses that can help you get it. We don't have those requirements. So pretty much you bring the required documents that you need, you come fill out an application, and then we try to get you put to work as quickly as we can.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you for that question out in our audience.
Absolutely. So that pretty much wraps up what the curriculum looks like. In conclusion, you're getting a debt-free education. Like I said, a lot of folks that are looking to go off to college that may not know what they're going to college for, or maybe somebody who wants to go to college and they may not be in a position to be able to pay for it right now. These might be a really good option for those folks because you go through these 5 years of education, of schooling for $750. That is broken out into $150 a year, and that is to pay for their books. Everybody always asks, what's the catch? Where's the cost? How much is this going to cost me in the long run? It's $150 a year for your books. The rest of it is paid for by you having a job and getting your foot in the growing industry that's in high demand. I like to have fun. I ran the numbers on how much money an apprentice makes only working 40 hours a week for the entirety of their apprenticeship. And it's $370,000 if you include wages and benefits, $235,000 money on the check. And that's if you never work a single hour of overtime, but it's also if you never miss a single day of work. So that in a nutshell is basically all I have, Peggy. The only other thing that I will add is, early on, I mentioned that I like to consider ourselves an option instead of an alternative. The reason I say that is our program, along with several others, have partnered up with colleges around the United States to be able to offer college credit upon completion. So if you finish our program, upon graduation, you're awarded 45 hours of college credit. We're partnered up because this is it is an international organization. We do have a presence in the United States, Canada, Australia, and Ireland. So the college that we're partnered up with currently is Washtenaw Community College, which is in Michigan. And they award you 45 hours of college credit that you can apply towards an associate's degree. And then once you obtain that associate's degree, we have another partnership with Rowan University in New Jersey, where you can take the apprenticeship completion, the associate's degree that you got through Washtenaw Community College, and you can apply that to a bachelor's degree through Rowan University in construction management. So not necessarily an alternative. You can use it as a means to get a college education and be able to actually still pay for it while you're going to get that education. Because it's, as we all know, that is hard to do these days. You can't work a part-time job and put yourself through college anymore. But that's all I have, Peggy. I have my contact information here. And I think you said you're going to share this presentation.
Yes.
That is the number to the training center here. Just ask for Brian when you call. My email is on there. Our website is on there. We're actually in the process of trying to get an app designed, but we're not quite there yet. But as soon as we get it done, I promise I'll share it with everybody because I'm pretty excited about it. But like I said, I'm here. If anybody has any questions or anything that I missed, Peggy, I'm sure you've got some.
Well, and I was just going to encourage everybody, yes, please drop any questions you have in the chat box. And again, Brian, you did a beautiful job. Thank you so much. And I really want to impress upon the audience that a few different points you made. He started with the phrase, earn while you learn. And guys, I can tell you, again, I was a teacher, so I went to 4-year college. They don't pay you to go to college, okay? You go to school for 4 years, which again, don't get me wrong, I loved it. And afterwards, I had to pay that money back, right? With this, you're working and getting paid. And yes, you're going to school a couple nights a week, but you're getting paid for your work during the day. So that's huge. So it's a wonderful opportunity. But one of the main things we want to encourage you to do is follow your passions and your interests. And one of the things Brian mentioned is not to let the math scare you. And I agree with that completely, because I mentioned one of my brothers went through an apprenticeship. He's been a carpenter all his life. And he didn't enjoy math in high school, but I can tell you that once he saw the application of it with everything you do as a builder, he has no problem with it at all. And he can do math in his head faster than I can. And it's so much of it is the application and seeing how it's used. So I agree with Brian completely. Don't let the math or anything else intimidate you. There are people here to help you. So
I'll add on to that, Peggy, if I may.
sure.
I said people ask me all the time what the catch is. The catch is it's hard work. It's physically demanding. They're going to hold you accountable. You do have to get up early in the morning to work construction. You want to beat the heat because it gets hot. You're working outside in the elements. When it's cold, you're cold. When it's hot, you're hot. And it is hard work. With that being said, it's not too hard for anyone anymore. We have plenty of female apprentices. We have plenty of smaller framed, short people, skinny people, people who are making career changes later on in life. The technology in construction has come so far that it's really opened the doors to folks who, didn't used to think they could do this for a living. I know we're sending this out to high school students, but this isn't just for high school students. This is for moms and dads and uncles and aunts and sisters and brothers and anybody who likes to work with their hands, isn't afraid of some hard work and maybe getting a little bit dirty in the process. Maybe I might get asked this question, but I'll address it beforehand. People like to ask, what makes a good candidate? And I usually tell folks it's somebody who already knows how to do the easy things, the show up to work, the be there every day, the be on time. The big one with the youngsters is the cell phones, staying off your cell phone, staying busy, coming with a good attitude, making the people around you enjoy working with you goes a long way. You spend a lot of time out there with around the same folks every day. And, like Peggy said, find something you're passionate about, find something that you enjoy doing. We had a member come in to receive his 55-year membership pin and his little award that he got for it. And he came in and was talking about what he was doing on the job that day. And I asked him, I said, "You're still working?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because," he said, "I still enjoy it." He said, and if it's fun, why quit?" He said, "I don't look at it like a job." He said, "It's like a hobby to me." He said, "If I go to work and have fun every single day, it doesn't feel like a job." And that really resonated with me because it's true. If you're miserable doing what you're doing, then you need to be doing something else. And if this is something that you're passionate about and something that you enjoy, then by all means, your career is going to be fun. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to learn. You're going to love it. And it's going to be rewarding because, just like anything, but in these trades especially, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. You know, when you're in this apprenticeship program, every certification that you have an opportunity to get is going to make you more valuable. And they're not all required. Not everyone is going to get every certificate offered to them. But the folks that do, they're going to get, it's going to pay off in the long run because it's going to make them more valuable to those contractors when they're looking for somebody who might have a rigging certification, you know, or who might have that welding certification and also can be a plumber and a pipe fitter. You know, it's the opportunities are endless, but you do have to earn it. You do have to work hard. So if it's something that like I said, if it's something that interests you, I would encourage you to do some research on it and see how to get started.
Well, Brian, we can't thank you enough for all of your time and the valuable information. To our participants, again, remember in the next few days, we will post this recording and we'll post Brian's slideshow. His contact information is there and mine is in the chat. Oh, and it looks like we got one more question. It says, since my child is in 10th grade, trying to understand their prerequisite for this program. So I'll start with that. So this program is for after a student graduates high school. Once they've graduated from high school or got their GED, then they could go into an apprenticeship program. So we don't have apprenticeships during the school day yet at the K-12 level. So.
Yeah, they can go to work for a contractor, Peggy, at 17 years old, as long as they have the high school education.
Okay.
But they can't start a registered apprenticeship program until they turn 18.
Very good.
You know, so yeah, a 10th grader, you know, there's companies that might be able to employ them in very, very specific limited roles for like a summer job. But as far as actually getting started in the apprenticeship program and working full time, they have to graduate or get the GED and be 18.
Okay, very good. And that question came from a parent. I would encourage you, please feel free to email me with some more specifics about perhaps what campus your child is at. We have during the school day at the high school level, we do have a construction program at Cedar Ridge, and we have welding at McNeil and at Stony Point. So that would give the students some classes to try out those particular trades. So far, we don't have electrical or plumbing at the high school level. But again, for all the programs Brian's speaking about, it's for after high school. All right. Well, thank you all so much for a great evening. And I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Peggy.
Brian, thank you as always. Did an amazing job.